I think we wait for 2 more minutes for the people that are a bit late.
I don't know if Spec-Up-T can support it, but I did like that. Just the docs, instead of installing, you can copy a template into your repo,
Uh-huh.
which is a lot less headachy.
Can you
I
explain,
know.
Carly, what you mean?
Yeah, so just the docs is a Jekyll based it runs Jekyll, it's got a specific theme, and then so you have to install, in order to configure the repository, you have to install Jekyll locally, set up the just the docs locally, and then sync that push that up to the repo. But the difference is that if it's a template, you can just go to the template of just the docs, say, there's a click, a link or whatever, and you say, build me just the docs using this template in my own repository, and give it a name, and you don't need to install anything locally in order to initialize it.
Okay. We'll look
Okay.
into that because it's recorded. We can look into it. So this is a workshop Spec-Up-T given by myself and Cor. I'm Henk van Kan, and Cor will introduce himself later. I'm the co-chair of the Concepts and Terminology Working Group for Trust over IP. Welcome to this workshop. My part will be an intro and also fit for non-technical roles. So we'll use Spec-Up-T based specifications and glossaries without going into the details of how it came to be. Just use it. So what is Spec-Up-T? It's all of those things that you can see hopefully in your screen. It's a static web page generator, a version glossary, all that stuff it is. And what do you see as a normal human being? So if you're not technical, you see your specification documents on the internet with lots of visuals possibly. Images, all kinds of mermaid diagrams you could integrate, various stuff that can be done with Markdown. And what you also see is a glossary, and that's the important part for us. We will zoom into that because the T stands for Trust over IP, of course, Spec-Up Trust over IP, but also Spec-Up terminology. That's the main part of it. So why would you even look at Spec-Up-T and not something else? The first creator of Spec-Up was Daniel Buchner at DIF, Decentralized Identity Foundation. With his, he was quite right that we forked Spec-Up-T because we needed to focus more on the terminology side, which Spec-Up didn't have. But Spec-Up is easy peasy, as he said. What that means, we'll come back to that later. It's very portable. So the result of Spec-Up-T is one index.html, and you can just copy it anywhere you like. It has all the stuff on board and it should work. Well, that's the idea, and we still have 3 months to go to deliver that. It's open source and free. That doesn't mean that the services around it will be free forever, because Cor and I, our chimney has to smoke, we say that in Dutch. That's our saying in Dutch. It means that we finally need to put some bread on the table, and therefore we're going to ask money if we have people wanting us to support them in building up Spec-Up-T. But in principle, you can download it yourself. You can go to the help website and do it all by yourself. It's Markdown based with a few extra tricks. And the main reason why you should use Spec-Up-T and not something else, you could use like Docusaurus or any other static page generator. But I think the unique selling point of Spec-Up-T is that you can, in a larger organization, build consensus around term definitions and concepts. How that works out in brief, XREFs. So it's external references. You can use them a lot. So as soon as a glossary is based on Spec-Up-T, you can XREF to it, and by doing that, you create consensus with each other because you use a definition of somebody else, and most probably because you agree with that definition, or you want to put it in a slightly different context, and then you add some text to it. But that's the way Spec-Up-T creates consensus in, for example, an organization like Trust Over IP. I'll put you to work in a minute, don't worry. It is a workshop. So, but I wanted to focus on the 5 W's, you know, what is it, why, for who, etc. But just imagine that you only use Markdown and a few extra tricks, and these are in bold, the extra tricks, the def, ref, and xrefs, and you will be a Spec-Up-T master. That sounds overpromising, and it is overpromising, but it is true. So you could use these basic building blocks on github.com and edit text files over there, and you would not need more to set up your Spec-Up-T based glossary. As soon as you get addicted to Spec-Up-T, you'll need these other skills. You will need to be able to use a command line on your computer, because you will do stuff locally and then upload it to GitHub. You also need to understand GitHub and Git. You don't need to be an expert, but the basics like pull, push, fetch, or merge, or whatever, these kind of operations you need to be able to do once you get into the more sophisticated work around Spec-Up-T. You also need to understand your own directory structure of your own data. Spec-Up-T has a certain very shallow directory structure, but of course you need to know what you do, where to put stuff. And also there are 1 or 2 configurations files you need to know how to configure your stuff for your own project. This is not rocket science, but I just list them that you don't expect too much. So why is this all so terribly complicated? Any idea? Could any tell me why this needs to be so complicated for just a glossary and just a specification?
History, versioning.
Versioning is one, yes. What are the other ones?
Humans.
Humans.
Different, same word used in different contexts may have drastically different meanings.
Yep, consensus building, I would say. So you work around those definitions, and if you agree to disagree, then you have your own definition of that same term. That's right. There's one important one that I have that you've missed so far. Authenticity. So you know exactly who did what to the terms, and we use that a lot to show to people how that consensus came to be. And of course, certain people in a community have more reputation to be able to define a term than others. So that's all what we use. That's why it's so terribly complicated. We need the version management, we need the authenticity, and to be able to build consensus around that, you need to know exactly who did what and when. So where to start? I have a simple click on this one, and it goes to the documentation. And how to use it, that's where we start now. I will start with the basics for non-technical roles. And how can we find them? What are our non-technical roles? I go to the documentation, I enter the documentation, I go to the roles, to the introduction, and somewhere here you see a sort of a diagram that says anyone that reads a glossary or a whole specification with a glossary to it, such a person can, of course, read those definitions. And let me do that for you. And you can do it yourself if you like. You can go to the main glossary of trust over IP. This is the one. And if you hover over a link, then you will see a pop-up with the definition. This is one of the functionalities that you get while you use, as a reader, you use Spec-Up-T. But as I showed you before, I think it was here. Here, yeah. A reader can also be a curator, a content author, and a terminology author. And these roles can be non-technical. As I said before, it is true, but as soon as you learn to appreciate it, you will need to do some more. But you could use a GitHub, the GitHub environment to edit your files and save them. And if you've got enough rights on your own repo, then it will be immediately processed by GitHub Actions into your Spec-Up-T glossary. And how does a Spec-Up-T glossary look like? I just showed it to you. It's the Trust Over IP main glossary. This is fully latest Spec-Up-T based glossary. And it has various buttons that Core will go into more detail with you. I only want to address this one. Here, it's a hashtag in front of a term, and you click it, and then you see on the lower right corner that the link is straight, directly copied into your, how's that called? I forgot the word. In your clipboard. Yeah, that's the word. So it's straightly copied there. And what you could do is here in use definition, we could paste that persistent URL, save and publish it at face value. What does that mean? I will put it here, and this is what I mean. So as soon as you take that term, you can paste it anywhere you like, in an email, on a website, on a social media platform, whatever, and start discussing it. If you are a more proficient Markdown user, and it's within a minute you'll be working yourself, so don't lean back. I will give you a task within a minute. You could say, this is an example, term definition. And then, of course, paste that link here. And that works exactly the same. So again, just to warm you up, why would we use Spec-Up-T for this? Why can't you simply use any definition on the internet that's somewhere, written on W3C or IIW, whatever? Why don't you use a link to that and spare the effort to learn to use Spec-Up-T?
My guess is because Spec-Up-T will be the more up-to-date version of what that is being defined as, or you can pick a specific version done at a specific date and time.
Yep.
That's my guess.
Both true, yes. These are both true. Both aspects of version management, by the way. And the other one is, again, authenticity. What I don't show you here is consensus building, but because we're not really building consensus, are we? So I promise you to give you a first task. Please create a link like that yourself by using the Trust Over IP main glossary. And I just showed you where you need to copy that link, and then you can paste it anywhere. For example, you can paste it into the Slack. As you can see, I switched now to Slack and to the Concepts and Terminology Working Group chat. And I said here, we will start a thread here for the workshop Spec-Up-T. You can ignore this because it's a task for people who join the workshop. So please respond to this message in a thread and paste your link into it that you just copied.
Can
Olivier,
you put the link to the main glossary in chat?
Yep.
and Olivier does not have access to that, but he might be able to put it into, he doesn't have access to Slack, but he
Yeah.
put it in the chat.
Yeah, feel free to put it in the chat, no worries. this is the link to the glossary.
So Hank, you're wanting us to put a link to the glossary in the,
That's what
the-
just happened. That's what just happened.
okay.
No, he wants us to do a link to a specific
to a
term,
To a
right?
specific term in the glossary.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since I have it open 24/7, I'll just, why do you laugh about that? It's
So
important.
for Oliver, I want to say, Oliver, stay tuned, because Cor will into more technical detail that you might be able to cope for today, or your natural talent to grasp everything. But it will be the next session, so it's in 10 minutes or less, or even less.
Oh, somebody's fancy.
So can I also ask for the Slack channel link? Well, you over ask me. I don't know how to supply a Slack channel link.
I can get you that. One
Okay.
second.
But they have to be a member of Trust Over IP
Yeah.
and
So
have
what-
access to Slack.
What we already see here is the results are coming in, and Core has pasted a plain link at face value, I called it, and Drummond has done this a bit more sophisticated work, and he created a link to it. So below this, we see the link to the term, and if you look closely at this term link, it's pretty complicated yet, but we will look for a more easy to a more easy to remember link, and that will be most probably glossary.trustoverip.org. But don't stop using this one, because we will also forward this link to for the future. All right, so that's what it. Thank you for the. Is anyone still busy with trying to paste that link? For example, Neil, or are you doing your shoppings for next week?
I'm good.
I'm still trying to get it, but go on, I'll figure it out. Where was,
So you have to click on that hashtag, that pound sign on. No, it's not a pound sign. It's a hashtag in front of a term, and that will automatically copy the link to that term in your clipboard, and then you do paste anywhere you like. That's the way to link the latest version of a term. The next thing I wanted to discuss, if you don't mind, I will continue, but so feel free to call out stop if you're not ready to take the next step.
I'm ready.
Okay, that's great. So we'll be back here, and what we see here is snapshots on the lower left corner. That's also an important one, and we want to have a look at this one, because that also has links for non-technical users. And why is that important? Because you might want to decide that you stick to a certain version of a glossary of a certain group, for example, version 1. And then you get the same glossary, which is totally Git version managed. So we can make comparisons between the latest version and this version, and also between all intermediate versions as soon as we got more. And the good thing is you can also use the pound sign here too. And if you click on it, you will see here on top that there's a marker here saying version 1. And that's important for consensus building as well, because you might want to say, as a group, we are a subgroup of Trust Over IP, and we are going to use version 1 of the terminology, because we don't have time to keep up with all the latest changes, and we don't want to be involved with that. And that's a sort of a batch process later. So you could say this year we use version 1, and of course Drummond goes on and he uses it every day, and he adds like enormous amounts of definitions. And then you say 6 months later, let's look into that new work of Drummond, and then it pops up really simple. and then you can use your hashtags again, and then you will use a hashtags to the version 2. And maybe it even does work like this. So you change the version number, and then of course you get here a 404. It doesn't work because we don't have a version 2 yet. So I'm close to the end of my part of the workshop. Let me see here. So you could, if you want, and if you're really eager to learn this, you could paste in Slack a comparison between version 1 and the latest version of our glossary. I see a hand up of Judith.
Yeah,
Please.
I didn't see on the glossary page how you, when you clicked on the hashtag, how do you determine which version you want?
Okay, so
Link, can you go back and show that?
let me see. This is the definition of Brie. So we went straight to the trust network because that was the link that Brie sent us. You can check
Right.
that chat. So what you do here is this is the copy of the link, but down here are the snapshots to the left, lower left corner.
Okay, lower left, okay.
Yeah, and then you click on snapshots, and then you go to your version 1, or the latest version is standard. And if you want to go to a version earlier, you go to version 1.
Thank you. I just didn't see the little blue
Yep.
bar down.
Okay, no worries. So
And and just to clarify,
Yeah.
Hank, when you go to that version and you then click the
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 hashtag.
pound sign to
Yeah.
get any link, you will get a version link. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Yeah.
version.
See that it's built in. So you go to that version and that version is locked.
Exactly.
And now you get any link, you're gonna get a version link that will go to that version definition. I love this feature. I mean, just we need to pass a huge hat tip hat for Hank and Core creating it. It's perfect.
Okay, let's go forward with the whole concept behind Spec-Up-T for terminology is the fact that you can amend a definition. And this is, of course, how you do that. You use a link to a certain definition of somebody else, and then you say, because Trust over RP uses this definition of agent, we like to say that we have a totally different opinion on agent. And then you could lay out what your opinion on agent is. And then you could cross-link each other. And that's what you do with an XREF. Oh, sorry. I happened to click on the so that this is how it looks like. These are the extra tricks, the def and the XREF and the refs. How will you do your maintenance on this definition? Have you got any idea? Please feel free to shout out. How are you able to do your maintenance on your own definition?
What
On
do
your
you mean by maintenance?
Well, for example, you change your mind in two weeks. You say, well, I didn't get it right. Our group has a slightly different meaning on what we think, let's say, a witness is. A witness is a term in identity space that can have various meanings. And how then would you update your definition of witness that has linked to another definition of somebody else of that same witness term? How would you do that? Any ideas?
I'm even confused here. Are you saying you want to have your own definition of that term?
Yeah, you already
Or
have
you-
your own definition, but like this here, maybe I went
Right.
too quickly because I see that I'm eating the time of Core. But this is a definition that you've created yourself. You XREF
Got it.
to trust over a P agent, but you've made your own
Oh,
agent
oh,
definition.
I see.
Yeah.
So
how
what you've said is you've created your own definition, but in your definition, you've used an XREF
exactly
to
how do
another
you maintain
definition.
that? How would you maintain that? What is important with when you try to maintain a definition or keep it up to
You ha-
date?
You have to maintain it in your own specification.
Exactly. You need your own repo to do that.
Yes.
If you want to be able to build consensus, the ultimate goal of Spec-Up-T, you need your own repo. Of course, you can do this and write exactly this syntax somewhere on the internet, but there are two things. One, your interpreters won't recognize it because it's Spec-Up-T language. So you will see exactly what you see here, def agent and xref TIOP agent. So you need your own Spec-Up-T based repo to be able to maintain your definitions that cross-reference other trust over IP glossaries. That doesn't mean that you can't use the definitions. That's what I said. You can use your links all the time, and you have the version management and the authenticity of all this for free. I see the hand up of Drummond.
Yeah, and Carly just put in the chat the same thing, and I want to reinforce what you're saying. So basically, if you want to use these features of Spec-Up-T and you want to be able to maintain your own glossary and XREF other glossaries, all of the documents you're maintaining are in Spec-Up-T, and that means they're all in GitHub repos. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's
Hank?
right. That's right. And then you
Yeah.
can also enjoy all these extras like collapsing all the definitions. You can also search for them, and as soon as they're collapsed, they will find only the definitions themselves. So there are 49 matches, and that means that there are 49. If you go, we're going to look them up.
It's not live yet, Hank.
Oh, that's not live. Okay, sorry.
I think.
That's yeah. You demonstrate that later. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the. So that is not really live yet. These 49 matches are matches anywhere in the glossary.
glossary.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see them. They will light up, and you see here they're in the
Yeah.
text, and also the pop-ups you have, but also the version management that Core will explain, because now it's his time. And I've used half an hour, Core. I'm sorry for that.
Bree's got her hand
Bree
up.
has a question.
Oh, say, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to ask, when you say you maintain your own GitHub repository for the Spec-Up
Mhm.
T, I'm assuming, sorry, where I got lost was I'm assuming there's going to be one GitHub repo for the trust over IP glossary. Yeah,
Yes.
we're not maintaining more than one.
No, I think what Hank was saying is, if you want to create your document with all these features, you need to do it in Spec-Up-T in your repo.
Yeah.
But you can then, as soon as you do that, you can cross-reference any other Spec-Up-T document in whatever repo it's in, and we, the Concept Terminology Working Group, will maintain one of those, the Trust over IP glossary, and as a community resource for everyone to be able to reference for anything they're doing in Spec-Up-T. Or you can just copy and paste the link as I showed you to any other document. You don't have to. But if you want these Spec-Up-T features, you have to use Spec-Up-T, which means you have to have a GitHub repo to host your Spec-Up-T
Okay, and
document.
then just so I understand what the structure is, you had mentioned that you will be migrating over to GitHub, like trust over IP proper. Is that right?
Trust over IP already uses GitHub.
Oh, okay.
The thing we'll be migrating is we're going to be moving off of Slack into Discord and a few other things like that. But no, we're not changing anything about how we're using GitHub.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so the only
so
time somebody would need to set up a separate repo is if they're making their own glossary that references trust over IPs rather than using trust over IP directly and then copying those links into their documents, correct?
Almost. I want to be very clear about this. Think of it as you have, if you're going to do a trust over IP deliverable, you have two choices. You can do it as a regular document like Google Docs or Word or whatever, in which case what you're going to copy over from the trust over IP glossary is just links, ordinary links. If you want all these wonderful automatic cross-reference pop-up beautiful things that Core's been showing, then you say, oh, we're going to create our document in Spec-Up-T, and we need a repo to do that, and this whole workshop and the guide to do that is what you would follow to set that up and use it. Did I get that right, Hank?
Yep.
So just to make sure I understood that, having said it, you've got really two scenarios here for needing a repository. One is for documents that's using Spec-Up-T that is referencing glossaries that are somewhere else, and you want to use that glossary and put that stuff and get the links. So now your document that you publish out of GitHub as a markdown document, as a specification, now has the link features.
Yep.
That is separate from you having a repo where you're going to have your own term glossary, right? So I'm going to set up a GitHub for terms that are specially. For example, I want to set one up for the diff hospitality and travel industry stuff, which is going to build on and use the stuff from this, and also have specifications which are going to be built using that other vocabulary.
So
Is that what you're talking about, Bree?
let me just explain one thing there, which is what you're talking about, Neil, again, is a sort of special case. It's saying, oh, we're going to create a Spec-Up-T based document, but that particular document, like the TrustOverP document, that Spec-Up-T is just going to be a glossary. You're saying, hey, we want to create a glossary for a whole community to use in a bunch of other documents. And you can totally do that. It's a special case of saying, oh, I just want to create a spec, like let's say the trustworthy query protocol spec. That's done in Spec-Up-T. And if you want to create, that content, you have this choice. 100% of your definitions can be expressed from other glossaries. You don't have to have any internal glossary. Or you can say, there's some terms we just use in this spec, and you can put refs and defs to create your own glossary in that spec. Might be an appendix, wherever you decide to put it. And you can use cross-references. So as long as if you decide that you're going to have a Spec-Up-T document and the repo that's going to host it, that Spec-Up-T document can be entirely a glossary, like TrustOverP glossary, or it can be only partially a glossary, or it can be a document that doesn't have any internal glossary and uses all XREFs to other Spec-Up-T. Does that all make sense?
Oh, okay, but it's my understanding if you're writing Spec-Up-T, you're relying on a GitHub repository for the document, which has the magic sauce that links you into the TrustOverP glossary. I still need a glossary. I still need a repo of some kind, which may be a completely independent one that is going to use those links. And for me to get a special sauce of the links and its animation, I need to add components for my local repository.
Yes,
that enables those Spec-Up features.
You need to set up Spec-Up-T in that repository for that document, which I think that process is documented, Hank and Core, in your guide, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And once you have a Spec-Up-T document,
I'm waiting for that, and also for someone to create to create a supplemental spec, which has got its own specialized vocabulary that's enough that you're not just going to do it in a single document, which is going to be true for the diff hospitality and travel. So I'm waiting to be a guinea pig, because I've heard a number of horror stories about people get so far in and then something breaks and they go, I don't have instructions on how to fix this, and someone comes in and magically does some keyboarding and it's now working. It's like, what did you just do? I want to take something that says, here it is, it's in the box. You should be able to walk through this whole process and end up with a successful installation.
Well, we have now version 1 of the TrustOverP glossary, so feel free to go and start using it, because we have latest in version 1 now. So if you feel comfortable by linking to version 1 without, as Drummond explained, you don't need any def, ref, or xref. You just use link and enjoy all the extra features under the hood as soon as you click on them. Because then you will go to a GitHub or wherever hosted glossary of somebody. So you could decide to take the whole index.html file out of GitHub and serve it on your own private website. You could do that. That's easy. But then you miss all the version management aspects of it and all the
No, I'm agreeing. I'm waiting for the Neil, here, go ahead. Here's the functionality. Run through this script on a clean version of Windows and end up with a fully functional system that I can be an author, I can be a contributor, and all those other things. Because it's not just a straight GitHub local install. It's GitHub plus utilities plus scripts plus configuration files.
That's not fully the case currently. You could use only GitHub. If you have if you have a user account on GitHub, you could go and use the GitHub software on the repo that you want to refer to. For example, the CTW main glossary. Maybe we should go another time into the details of how that works, because you don't need to know Git. You can use the front end of GitHub and offer content to that repo and to that glossary. If you have enough user rights, you save it right away. If you don't have enough user rights as a user, you will create automatically a PR that somebody else that does have the user rights to accept that change into the glossary. So I don't fully agree that you would need to know about all scripts and all other stuff.
No, he's talking about how to set up the repo, and you even mentioned it in your opening page that there are certain configuration files and things that need to be set up in that repo to use to have a version of Spec-Up-T. And so I think that to make his own glossary, I think that's what he's asking for, is what are the step-by-step instructions to set it up so that it could be used in his own glossary.
Yeah.
So I think that's another topic, but
that's
yeah.
it's what Cor is trying to adopt if I shut up. So Cor will go into exactly that what Judith said. Set up your own Spec-Up-T. Go ahead, Cor.
All right. I guess I have to share my screen.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I'll give you the opportunity to do so. Stop share. Go ahead.
All right.
Are you able to share? Any other questions in the meanwhile that Cor shares the screen? Okay, let's go on. No other. Go ahead.
Right. Hide floating meat controls. Good. Okay, so maybe just show the search. We were just talking about the searching in the only in the definitions. So this is on my own. This is a demo on my own website because it's not live yet. But I can show you that if I search for example auth, then you see there are 134 matches at the top right here, and I can go click through the definitions. Now if I collapse the definition, so collapse the definitions, this part, and I only show the terms, then the 134 matches should shrink to a lower number. So yeah, so now there are only 21, and that's because it only searches the terms.
Cool.
And as soon as you expand here, then it's back to 134 matches.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So given the
What's the
time,
link?
Cor, could you, thanks for that demo.
Yeah.
Could you try to focus on the technical aspects of
Yeah.
this?
So I'll do an installation, okay?
Yep.
Alrighty. So I'll open a command line. So I'm in my temp directory, and I'm going to do a Spec-Up-T installation, and I type this into my command line, npx create Spec-Up-T, and the name of my glossary will be just an example. So now I hit enter, and it's going to install. So this is the first part. The setup-t is complete. Here is info about this is the documentation website here.
Which has all these steps in it, right, Core?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And here are the directions, what you have to do next. So we go into the just an example with a change directory, the CD. Like that. And then this is all standard NPM stuff. So this is NPM is the system we use for the installation. So what I do now is npm install, and this will take a while, and it will install the all the libraries that are needed. So also the Spec-Up-T library is currently an npm package, and it will be installed. Don't pay attention to the warnings.
Yeah, I always wondered about those.
Yeah,
There you go.
they will disappear in the future.
It's very helpful. I can see that you've added the instructions right at the end
Yeah.
about what to do next.
Yeah, I can't. This is the next step. So I created a menu, and I will type this npm run menu, and we'll go to the menu, npm run menu. So now we have a number of options, and I think in the future there have to some options have to disappear, like add new terms will go into number 1. It's too unintuitive, even for myself. So I think this one should disappear, but for now it's there, and I'll use it. So let's go back to the Finder. This is now where my Spec-Up-T installation lives, in my temp directory. And so what we see is a directory where the specs go. So this is where this is the non-terms files, like an intro and outro, and this is where the terms will go. There are 4 default example terms, and this is a let's call it a system directory. This is created when I run the npm install. So this is where the Spec-Up-T also is. Let's see, it must be somewhere here. Spec-Up-T right there. You don't have to touch it, it's just there. And if there's a new version of Spec-Up-T, you would run npm update, and you would have the new version.
Cool.
And all the other stuff is also apparently also needed, like all
Those
these
are all libraries for
yeah.
Yeah.
And like Daniel Buchner created Spec-Up, and a lot of libraries he introduced, and they call other libraries. So this is a whole npm system, but you don't have to worry about it. So let's close it. Then we have this. No, you don't have to worry about this. Like, this is important. The spec. Let's open it in my Visual Studio Code. So this is the editor I would use to, for example, to write terms. Now, this is the same as this.
Right.
So here you see the spec, here you see the terms and definitions, and this is the content. So that's where you have to, this is where you have to
go
pay.
to specs.json.
Yeah, this one.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is something, here you have to do a few configurations. If you do nothing, then you will have two external specs repos defined. These are just examples. Like you see here, Spec-Up, XREF test 1 and test 2. This is just for demonstrating the XREF feature.
Right.
So this is where you have to do some configuration. This one and this one ideally should in the future be combined, so to one entry.
I see.
But it's not yet there. So this one and this one, this is the website and this is the repo. So that's important. Here you define your own GitHub account.
Right.
This is where you define your, this is a reference to these files, and here you can say in what order you want to see them. So if I would put the intro here, it would come after this one.
Right. So that's an important feature of Spec-Up is it will combine as many markdown files as you need into one ultimate output, and the order in which those appear is controlled here.
Yeah, and also we took out the definitions we put in a separate JSON, because now there are 4, but in the main glossary there are 505. So that would be very very exhausting if you had to scroll all the way through these 500 terms. So they have their own JSON file, and this
Term index, I see.
Yeah, and you so here, but if you, I think what we have to, I think this shouldn't even be, so you don't have to worry about this. It will add, so sorry, this option, this add new terms,
Yes,
will do this for you. It will add these 500 in this file. So you don't have to worry about it yourself. Only, but if you want to change the order, then you would have to do like this, like move number 3 1 upward. So yeah, now it's 3 is here.
Just a
But
quick question.
yeah,
Like, so you're working with like you're working, you sync the repository, you're working locally, you're playing with some setup files and stuff like that. But for example, with it must be possible because, well, okay, it would be great if it was possible because one can do this with any documentation page, is that if you want, just go into GitHub and then you can copy an existing term, make a new page, delete what was there, put in your new term, and then would it not be automatically added to, like, is that the process for that? Right, because rather than going through, GitHub desktop and syncing a local repo and stuff like that.
do I understand what you're asking? Are you saying, are you asking, is it possible to do it in the GitHub web environment? Is that your question? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, like, if I was helping, so when I was writing that, because I want to help with writing the documentation for this to make it easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the documentation that I wrote up above, I like that approach because the first step says all you need to learn is commit and working in the web environment. and commit equals save, and then I can do, if I can do it with just commit equals save in the web environment, and then potentially I can do in page 2 of that GitHub instruction, then it's like still in the web environment, how to do a branch so that you can faff around and then ask for your changes to be added. So that way you can add review. So if we can do that all through the GitHub web environment, then hopefully Olivier can set it up for me, that whole npm install thing, which I can't handle. And then I can poke around and ask you, Core, in the web environment. And then I can take that tutorial that I wrote and adapt it specifically for writing Spec-Up-T terms.
Yeah, you
know,
could. Yeah. So let's take this example repo that we use for the external references. I just clicked on it. So this, no, wait here. This one. So this is the test.
That's a
So
repo.
you could just go to spec, take a term.
Yep.
Go to the edit this file button.
Yep.
I think I'm logged in. Let me see. I guess so. So click on the edit.
Oh, copying files in the GitHub, copying files in the GitHub is tricky. Okay, so if I wanted to make a new term, I would copy and paste your term right here, and then I would say new file.
Let me see.
Wait a minute. We've Core has
Yep.
now shown how you add content to spec.
Yes.
What he hasn't shown is how you add a term in the term definitions directory.
Right.
So
Right.
you have to go into the terms definition.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, here. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
where you copy
Yeah.
and add and do whatever you like.
Yeah.
But there's one but to it. You have to edit your configuration file as well if you do it this way. So you have to remember, I copied a certain term into another term, but the system Spec-Up-T doesn't know that you did that.
Okay, so you have to do two things. You need to
Exactly.
compose the term, everything here in this one markdown document. And then you have to inform the system of your new term by changing some other file.
Yeah.
Henk, I don't think that will be necessary when I have the GitHub Actions running.
All right. That's
They
good.
will-
That's
yeah.
good.
The GitHub, I can create a GitHub action workflow that runs. That's my plan.
Okay, because
The GitHub Actions will do this for you. So they will do this for you. This will go into option 1 anyway, so it will disappear. So it will get easier. But also, if you would do it here, like this, testing 1, 2, 3, commit changes, blah, commit change. So now we'll get a GitHub action here. Oh, it's already running. So in the future, this will also do adding the term, do the whole process for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
So once you've added a term to the, and Carly, it's important to understand because of the way it's structured, every term is its own markdown file in on GitHub. So you just, each time you're adding a term, you're adding a new markdown file.
Yeah, and also if you're not too familiar with GitHub, the actions, this part of GitHub is an important part, and it lets you create scripts that do things so that can run on actions you do. So if you save it, you can say, okay, if I save, then run this.
Right.
This was built by Daniel Buchner, but I will create more actions or workflows, it's called.
We have 2 more minutes left. If if some other people have to go at on top of the hour, don't know. We could extend it a bit, like 10 minutes more, if you like.
Thank you. I do need to go. I have another meeting.
Yeah, I've got to jump to another call too.
Okay, yeah.
This has been
Might I
super helpful.
suggest that what we need a workshop that is just for people that are using and editing terms and putting the terms in their documents, that don't need to know anything, and doesn't even mention that you ever would need to have your own glossary set up, so that we can have people who aren't as familiar with all this stuff to be helping to maintain the trust over IP glossary.
Yeah, with some features and functionality and version management and authenticity, etc., comes comes a few mandatory things that you have to do, and I'm afraid we can't, work them all out. So you should be able. You must use GitHub and become a proficient GitHub user to be able to do this.
No, I don't think you need to be proficient, but you need to know Markdown and commit and maybe branching. But I can totally help with the documentation, and I can write the kind of story that Judith is looking for.
Yeah.
This
Okay, great.
is my day job, so I can.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And there's a subset of that, Carly, which is if you just want to help edit or maintain the trust RP glossary, as in, hey, there's a term that I want to add or I want a revision. That's an even easier thing that we can document for folks. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I was just going to document about how to I wrote it in there, be a term editor, a term adder, or a term user, copy paste.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. Yeah.
I'm assuming somebody else has set it up for us already, because most of the work is actually the maintenance, etc. So thank you very much. This is really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to contributing. And if I have it, when I have a test site, then I can go in and do that documentation. After I figure it out, first I have to learn it myself, but I can communicate this.
Okay.
Okay.
Cora and
Thank you.
Hank, thank you so
Bye.
much. This
Fantastic.
is
You're welcome.
really a spectacular
Thank you.
piece of work.
Thank you for your suggestions. Great. Bye-bye.
It's an amazing tool. Quick question, Hank, did you say you're going to be at IW?
No,
Okay.
I will be at IIW, but only in April.
In April, okay. Because I do want to, I'm going to share with folks, or maybe Judith, the thing to do is if you do a Trust OP session, you're going to want to mention this tool is available. There's so many sessions that I don't think I'm going to do a separate one just on the glossary.
And I think April will be a perfect time frame, because by then the better documentation will be made. You've got the versioning done. All the work that Cora's been doing has been fabulous. And so I think it will be in a more stable state to be able to do a workshop of just using a glossary and changing the terms, and then another one for how to use your own glossary linking out to another glossary. That's two different audiences.
Beautiful.
And so I think by April, more will be in place to be able to do that. So we'll look forward to seeing you in April, Hank.
Thank you both.
And
so
you come
much.
too, Core?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe,
Where do you live, Core?
At DICE.
I live also in the Netherlands.
So I just might suggest, they just came out with the date of DICE, and DICE is going to be in Switzerland, which is a little closer, in March. So maybe prepare for that.
Yeah. But Cor never leaves his village, so just
Okay, never leaves his village. Okay, well, maybe I'll have to come to the Netherlands and see you then.
Okay, great. Thank you for
Bye.
your input. Bye bye.
Bye bye.